me, though, we're playing with in-ears, which I happen to be wearing right now. These are molded to my ears,
Okay.
and they create like a great suction. But when you're practicing trumpet in a room, you usually don't practice with these on, so it's not the most natural thing to be playing in an arena and have to get up and do. So what I do is I kind of take it out a little bit, so I can hear a little bit of that natural trumpet sound, and I can feel the vibration of the metal and the bones in my skull, and that usually helps me feel a little bit more secure.
Hmm.
And I time things like, okay, I'm gonna get up with enough time for the blood to rush up to where it needs to be from sitting down for so long. Oh, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I count and subdivide and really feel the music. Oh, okay, for this, I need to make sure that I'm hearing the drums a little bit louder so I can feel the time.
Hello, you beautiful musicians, and welcome back to the Musician Guidance Podcast. If you're new around here, my name's Mac. I'm the founder of Musician Guidance and podcast host. Today, I'm joined alongside someone that I recently saw give an absolute killer performance. He has also performed with some of music's greats, including Aretha Franklin, Michael Buble, Mariah Carey, and many more legendary artists. He is also currently on tour with Michael Buble as we are recording this as featured soloist. Without further ado, Caze, how are you doing today?
Well, thank you. It's Jean Caz, actually.
My apologies, Jean
That's
Caz.
that's fine. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And as I touched on there, you're on tour, so I know you're extremely busy. So I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join me on the podcast today.
Well, I'm happy to share.
Happy to hear. And before we get into the podcast, I think the story of how we connected is quite cool. And I just kind of like to share that as a little background. So basically, I went to the Michael Bublé concert, which was in my city. And by the way, I thought it was spectacular. It was my first concert since COVID, and it was a great production. And while I was there, like anyone, I took a picture, uploaded it to my Instagram story, and then Cassandra messages me, who, by the way, is just the nicest person. And for those watching that maybe haven't had the opportunity to learn more about her, I'll leave a link in the description to a video she created for us as a Grammy voter. Anyway, she goes like, "OMG, my man is the solo trumpeter." So then I record another story, tag yourself, and then we start talking. And it's very kind of you to come on the podcast today. So I thought that was just kind of a cool little tidbit to share. But I've done enough of the talking for now, so I'll pass the floor over to yourself. So for those listening in, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, I was born in Haiti, or Haiti, as you might know, in Port-au-Prince, in the capital. I left as a baby. My mom immigrated to Queens, New York, and basically I grew up in Queens, New York, and picked up the trumpet at 9 years old in public school. Before that, I played the recorder, and like
All
when
right.
I was seven, and I just always loved music for as long as I remember. I have my aunt, who I didn't see for many years. I saw her a few years back, and she was like, "Man, you used to bug me to always play whatever song you liked. I have to keep playing it over and over and over." And I'm still like that. If I like a song, I'm gonna play it to death. So yeah, for as long as I remember, I always loved music. And so when I got to play an instrument, I think that love for music just came out. I don't think I was like exceptionally great at trumpet, but I think my love for music helped me be able to get further ahead than a lot of the other kids.
Sure.
And because of that, I had a professor in, I think, junior high school tell me to try out for Juilliard MAP program, and MAP standing
Okay.
for Music Advancement Program. So what they did is they went into inner cities and they found talented people and they let them come to Juilliard every Saturday and take instructions. You had a private teacher for your instrument. You had brass ensemble, wind ensemble. You had theory. So they're really trying to help you be a full musician. And for me being a sheltered Queens kid, my mom was a single parent, and my sister was 9 years older than me. She was always watching me when my mom was working two, three jobs. So all of a sudden, me going into Manhattan with the big buildings and how busy and quick everything's moving, it was a really big life changing experience for me, even outside of music, just for being in that big environment and feeling like wow. So one thing led to another, and I just started getting more and more um, opportunities. So music just opened up more doors for me. I started doing all city jazz band, all state jazz band, and Grammy band. And while I was in high school, I got selected by VH1 Save the Music program to receive a free trumpet to also perform with Chicago, the legendary rock group, live on NBC. And I made a great connection there with a trumpet player named Lee Loughnane, who invited me to his house in California and gave me lessons for a week around the holidays. So like that, even just getting on a plane to like to go to another state, like I didn't have that experience of every summer going away on vacation. It's very limited resources when I was growing up, limited funds and things like that. So music was really just my passport to be able to get out into the world and meet different types of people and figure out who the hell I was at the same time.
That's awesome and very interesting too. And I love to hear of the journey because that's something that, we don't hear about too much. We hear about all the success, which is amazing. And I'm so happy to hear of your success. But it's that journey too that, a lot of
Hmm.
people can relate to.
Yeah.
And no two journeys are the same as well. So you really kind of touched on it there. But I guess, was there a time when I know you mentioned it was kind of a constant in your life. Was there a time when you um, was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is when I'm going to go full time with it. Like, was there kind of a
There
turning
was a
point there?
time when I was young that I knew I had to do something that I was passionate about for a living, something that I liked. I
Okay.
knew that. And I wanted to make enough money to help my family. Those are the two things I knew. There was a time I wanted to be a lawyer. There was a time I wanted to be a police officer, firefighter. I don't know, I guess watching heroic cartoons,
Sure.
collecting comics. I just wanted to save the world at some point. Um, but yeah, because of all the doors that music had opened for me by the time I got to high school, I had to make that decision for what I was going to do in college. And like I said, I didn't come from a lot of money, so either I was going to go to community college and do something like computers, or I don't know, something safe, um, or I was going to go for music. And I had this experience in my senior year of high school of getting accepted into what they call the Grammy band. So it's connected to NARA's Grammys, where they go and pick, you have to audition, and they pick the best jazz uh, musicians to form a big band, and then they fly them out to wherever the Grammys are being held in LA, and you do all these different performances and represent the Grammys and how they're basically making sure that they invest into the youth and into music education. So when I had that experience, that was my first time really being on a plane, aside from when I was a baby flying
Oh
from
wow.
Haiti to America. So I'm getting on a plane flying to another state, and then I get together with all these other super duper talented musicians, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I was good. This guy is even better. This guy, oh my god, da, da, da. And it just like made me not feel alone. Like I was just the man at my high school, and I was like, wow, there's like all these high schools, and everywhere, every one of them has the man. And shoot, like who's the most serious? Who's the one practicing the most? Like, wow. So that experience alone made me want to take music more seriously, and I was able to see myself and others that were taking their talent to another level by being even more dedicated than I was as far as practicing. Um, and so yeah, from then it kind of made tip the balance and maybe like you know what, I'm gonna go for this music thing.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Hmm.
Well, and I guess one thing led to another, and it sounds like I know you're the type of person to jump on opportunities, and you're always trying to get better. I know I've been keeping up with your social posts, and you're on tour right now. You're performing almost every day, and you're still practicing. You're still uploading yourself practicing videos. So it's that dedication you have too that has helped you along in your career. I can only assume. And now I touched on your touring with Michael Buble. How crazy is your life right now? What's your schedule like?
Well, we're currently on the longest leg that I've ever had with him, which is like basically 9 weeks of touring, 9 weeks without being home.
Wow.
Usually it's like 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off, something like that. But we're coming out of COVID, so we're hitting the ground running real hard, and so are a lot of other acts. So like some of the
Hmm.
venues and the routing is very different right now. So this is what we had to do to make it work, and it's very hard because you're away from your family, away from your loved ones, um, and you have to say a lot of no's to the people who are used to hiring you wherever you live in your local, musical community, and you fear
Sure.
that, gosh, it's going to take a minute to get back into that swing. So you have to make that decision of, okay, I'm going to commit to this for a certain amount of time. But while I'm doing it, like you see, like I'm still active on my social media. I
Hmm.
still am doing some grant writing. I'm still accepting jobs. I'm still teaching lessons. I just taught a lesson right before this. I'm going to teach a lesson after this. I don't want to ever just be, oh yeah, I'm with Michael Buble, I'm good, and be done. No, I'm still hungry. I still want to learn. I still want to grow. I still want to have great experiences and get my name out there and and attract a lot of other opportunities because the music business is volatile. This
Hmm.
Michael Buble gig may not last forever. What am I going to do all of a sudden, like frantically go? No, I'm fine. Like when COVID hit, I was good because, I have my hands in a lot of different pots, and I'm a shaker, I'm
Sure.
a mover, I'm a shaker, I'm a saver. Got to save for rainy days, and I just made it work. So hopefully, I answered your question. I feel like I rambled there a little bit.
No, definitely. And I guess so. You mentioned 9 weeks of touring. How far into it that are you? How many shows have you
So
done?
we
I
got
guess.
3 more days left, two more shows, and then I'll be home only for a week, and then we'll go to South America for about 3 weeks. Hmm.
Crazy schedules. And
Yeah.
what's the preparation process like for all this? I guess so. Before embarking on the tour, how long goes into preparation, rehearsal, and all that?
We do probably like 4 or 5 days of rehearsing in a room and where everyone flies to one location, and we
Okay.
work on the music and the production team. Like everything's set up as if it's going to be the show, and the lighting guys work on their lighting, the camera guy, the video guys work on the video. Then there's the whole setting up the stage, bringing it down, the sound guys. There's a lot of moving pieces. Right now, there's 130 people involved that
Wow.
worked for the tour. So um, you imagine having to transport, house, feed, and organize things for 130 people. It's a really big thing. And the band is about 20 some odd people, 13 horns, about five. Yeah, and then everywhere we go, we pick up about 20 string players from a local,
Okay.
and we pick up a smaller choir everywhere we go. So it's a lot. And
Definitely.
so everywhere we go, the MD, we call him NJL, Nicholas Jacobson Larson, he has to spend time rehearsing the strings, making sure they know what to do for the show. They have basically one day of rehearsing, basically, and do the
Okay.
show the same night. And then
Wow.
the one of our singers um, works with the choir on that day. I guess they'll probably send them the music ahead of time, but they have to work with them on that day to make sure everything is cool for the
Sure.
show.
Hmm.
And his name is the our course is Lauren Smith, super talented
Okay.
individual. Um, so they have to do that kind of work in order to get ready for the show. Once we've done those 4 or 5 days, then we start the tour. We still do sound checks every day and run over some spots, but everything is more or less locked into place by then.
Well, that's a very tight schedule. I was expecting it to be quite a bit longer than that, but I guess it's quite a well-oiled machine now.
Yeah, a lot of the guys have been in the band for a long time, and
Sure.
we have the music set ahead of time, and we're all professionals, so we're all able to just get there and make it happen. We're all able to do our best with a short amount of time, and of course,
Hmm.
every show you do, you're getting better. So,
Exactly.
but yeah,
Exactly.
lots of other acts will rehearse for weeks or even a month at a time, getting
Right.
ready.
Yeah. And do you all travel together as a band apart from the 20 string players you mentioned that you kind of pick up locally?
Yeah, so the band travels together, and the crew travels together. A lot of the time the crew will stay in different hotels than the band,
Okay.
and the band kind of moves and leaves the venue quickly because the crew has to stay there and break down everything that you see, the whole stage, all the
Right.
videos, the piano, all the stuff. So it takes them some time to pack all that stuff away and load it into trucks, and then the trucks have to move to the next venue that we're going to perform at, and then we get transported to hotels. We're on the bus, maybe about 8 or 9 people per bus, something like that.
Okay.
And then, yeah, it's very tricky because every night after a show, the the transportation time is different. So if you have
Hmm.
3 hours to get to the hotel, you don't necessarily want to go to sleep and then have to wake up and get all your stuff and bring your luggage into a room and try to fall asleep again. So a lot of times you're like, okay, how long is the drive tonight? 3. All right, we're gonna stay up. But if it's like 5, ooh, it's really tough. It's really tough to stay up. But if it's
Right.
10, it's easy. You go to bed. Everyone has a bed on the bus. So it's
Okay.
tricky. Every night, every day, you're like calibrating how are you gonna sleep, how are you gonna eat, and how are you going to be alert for this show that starts at 8 p.m. You
I
know,
can only imagine because it's
it's
it's almost
very
sorry
almost
there.
what?
It's almost like a new time zone you're in every day.
Kind of, yeah. So you have to be really flexible, roll with the punches,
Hmm.
and then I have the added challenge of being a trumpet player. Trumpet is like an instrument that you have to continue to practice and keep your conditioning up. So
Right.
you have to find time to 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 be able to do that. And you can't always do that in a hotel room, as you know, because
For
you'll get
sure.
some complaints. And so yeah, we're like always talking to the hotel people. Hey, is it possible to use a ballroom or the business room? And then some of them are trying to sell you the room. You're like, wait, I just want to practice. And don't want to bother your guests. Can we work together? Or sometimes you have to go to a park outside if the weather allows it.
I noticed that on
Sometimes,
your Instagram page. Yeah.
exactly, yeah. Or
Awesome.
sometimes you get to the venue early, and then you find a spot in a concourse and you practice there.
Very interesting. Now I know the
Mm.
story behind that Instagram post.
Man, can I tell you a story? That post when I
Please,
was in the park practicing,
please.
where was I? I think I was in Edmonton, and I'm practicing this thing, and it's really tricky. And all of a sudden, I hear somebody yell, "Blah, blah, blah, trumpet!" And I'm like, I don't know, I couldn't hear what he said. And a guy comes walking over. He said, "Hey, was someone just yelling at you to stop playing your trumpet?" He's like, "Man, you're here creating this nice, soundtrack to the park, and this guy's yelling." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure what he said because I'm playing. I can't really hear him." And
Right.
then I started playing again. I said, "Whatever he said, I'm not going to stop playing because he's yelling." So I start playing
There you
again,
go.
and he starts yelling, and he's yelling profanity at me, saying,
Oh my.
"Stop playing." He said, "I'm going to kill your trumpet," and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm practicing. Leave me alone. It's like a huge park.
Hmm.
If he doesn't like it, he can move somewhere else. Um,
Hmm.
so I keep playing, and he's like, "Play one more note." So I immediately play one more note because I'm not gonna let this guy bully me.
Hmm.
So I play one more note, and then the guy who's near me is like, "Hey, he's coming over here," because where I was practicing is bushes. I couldn't really directly see him.
Okay.
So the guy's coming over here. I'm like, "All right, you ready?" I put my trumpet away. I swear I'm right standing, ready to see what this crazy person is gonna do. Like I'm not gonna let this guy bully me. So he comes over and starts saying, "It's annoying." I was like, "This is a public park. I have the right
Right.
to be here. If you don't like it, you can move somewhere else. And I'm not gonna let you bully me or threaten me to stop playing music. No one else is complaining but you." And I get into it with this guy, man, and my adrenaline's all up. And
Sure.
eventually, one of his own friends comes up and gets in his friend's face and it's like, "What are you doing? You gonna throw away your life for a trumpet?" Because
Oh
other
my
people walking by saying, "If you
goodness.
touch him, I'm gonna call the police." Like people are basically
Right.
coming to my aid and
Oh
coming to
my
my defense,
goodness.
but I'm like, you know, furious, and I'm like,
Of
like
course.
I'm
Yeah.
daring him to touch me. So anyway, that post that you saw was like right before all that stuff happened.
There you
And
go.
of course, after I'm done with that, I don't even want to practice because my blood's boiling.
Sure.
My what is it? Adrenaline is up.
Right.
So, but yeah, this is what it takes to be a professional trumpet player
There you go.
and to practice enough to be good enough and consistent enough to play with Michael Buble. You got to be ready to throw down at parks.
Exactly. Exactly. And I want to say not all Canadians are like that. But I think there are a lot of people like that, unfortunately. So I think as you touched on there and how you stood up to them, like that, you just hit the nail on the head there. Like that's what it takes. You're gonna have to go overcome adversity to get to where you are. So no, I appreciate that story. That's cool. I'm gonna put a link to that post here in the description, so everybody
And
can check it out.
and that guy who was there talking to me, he videotaped the whole thing. But
Oh my.
I don't really want to see myself in that state, and I don't really
Sure.
want to relive it. I don't want to post it, but I have it. I just have it just in case. Maybe one day it'll be I'll be emotionally detached enough from it to watch it and to learn from it. But yeah, it was a crazy story, and I don't like Edmonton anymore. No, I'm just
No, no.
just joking. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, I know, I know. I want to touch on something you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, which was, sleeping on the tour bus. And if you have 3 hours, 5 hours, maybe you don't want to. What do you do? What are you doing on the tour bus to stay awake? And yeah,
Well, luckily in this particular band, people get along very well, and so you hang out with your guys. We have TVs, we have refrigerators. We get ordered after show food, so we
okay.
get to eat, and then we play video games. Some of us play chess. Some of us get on our computers and get work done, edit videos, edit music, whatever it is. We call our loved ones.
Mhm.
Um, it's a mixture of all those things, and we have like really silly conversations, deep conversations. Um, some people always run to bed early. Some people hang because they are terrible sleepers on the bus, so they're always up. You can always count on them. So you can really there's a front lounge, there's a back lounge. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Sometimes we listen to music. You would think musicians would do that more often, but a lot of times we're like just hanging, to be honest. We're not listening to music.
Kind of taking a
Um,
mental break from it almost, or
I think so. Because
yeah,
here's the thing, like you just finished playing to a crowd of 10,000 plus people,
sure.
and you have all this adrenaline because you just put all this focus and energy into the show, and it was well received, and people are out there crying and laughing and cheering and this and that. So what do you do with all that energy, right? You get on a bus. It's like as exciting as if we were able to stay and I don't know, go to a bar and hang out and have some fun and walk around or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So we're on an enclosed moving bus. So yeah, I guess people have drinks, um, and they just find ways to relax and come down off of that before they go to bed.
Definitely cool. I like that insight because
Yeah.
that's all new to myself, and I'm sure a lot of our community members too. And
Mhm.
speaking of community members, we have a few questions here submitted by them. So the first one is, how do you adjust during the concert if things do not go as planned?
Um, I do a lot of self-talk, I guess,
Okay.
where I, like, you know, um, the trumpet is like it's like every day your hydration level is different. Your lips feel different. Like your air, the
Okay.
muscles that you use to breathe feel different. So it's like every time you go to play, you feel like you're calibrating and playing almost a different instrument in a way.
Interesting.
So that comes with a lot of like insecurity and like, oh, I hope this works out today. I'm hoping everything's in good order. So I have like self-talk things that I do, like it's okay, get back in there, like
Right.
it's just one note, get to the next thing. Or it's like, I belong here, I've worked hard to be here, like different things like that that help me stay like focused and motivated and not in that worry. I hope, you know
Yeah.
I don't want to focus on what I don't want. I want to focus on what I want. So I just remind myself and have those kind of pep talks within myself while still trying to look like I'm enjoying myself the whole time.
Now we know what's happening when you're bobbing your head. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but also bobbing your head and moving around keeps you
I
light,
know.
right?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
kind of keeps instead of like this.
No, for sure. No, that's huge. I think mindset is definitely a major part of music,
Hmm.
business, life, really.
Hmm.
I appreciate that honesty there. And the next question, again submitted by our community, is for those that are wanting to get into touring and maybe with legendary acts like you have had the opportunity to perform with, are there must dos or must don'ts? Um, and I can kind of
Must.
give an example of that if you'd like. So, like,
Uh,
yeah, or if I know, just personally speaking, I'm someone who is quite persistent. I've been known to send 10 follow-ups. I mean, maybe not that many, but definitely a lot. And let's say you just had an audition and you haven't heard back yet. Is sending that many follow-ups kind of like a don't do it?
hmm.
Or is
I
there
think it's
anything?
good. I think it's good to be aggressive,
Okay,
but depending on the feedback,
sure.
you should be able to know. Okay, like, you should be able to like put yourself in other person's shoes. Like if the person says, "Hey, we'll get back to you this date," and you don't hear from them by that date, then yeah, reach out to them and say, "Oh, hey, I thought I would hear a response by now. I'm
Right.
really excited and would love to know if I could be a part of this." Blah blah blah, and then see what happens from there. But I wouldn't be if they say a certain time, then I wouldn't like rush and
Sure.
ask ahead of time. Yeah, like but I think the answer to the general questions, the do's are uh, to make connections with those people who are in a position to hire you. Sometimes it's an audition, sometimes it's a recommendation. For me, it was a recommendation from someone who I went to college with.
Okay.
And the fact that I was still active and doing a lot of different things and keeping my name out there, like performing in competitions and stuff, even though I hadn't seen this contact in a while and hadn't been on the phone with him like every other week, he still thought about me and asked me to fill in. I filled in, and at the end of that month, they asked me if I wanted to be a permanent member, and I was like, yeah. So I think it's
That's
important to make
awesome.
connections, and I think it's important to be aware of how you show up because how you show up is basically everything you do is an audition. How you act, are you on time? Are you professional? Are you well kept? Do you say inappropriate things? Or are you like always trying to hog the spotlight? Are you trying too hard? Are you like just Are you being a team player? Are you calm and in the moment? Are you, and then of course there's the playing side. Of course, are you prepared? Are you amongst the best to be considered for this thing? What are the qualifications? And being honest with yourself about how many boxes you can check for yourself, and the things that you can't, then you work on those. But yeah, that's a question I can answer for another 10, 20 minutes. But I think people generally want to hire people that they trust. So how do you get people to trust that you're cool off the bandstand and you're going to be professional on the bandstand? And if you're going to school with people and you're the guy who's always late to class, or you're the guy who's always not on top of things, then how am I going to trust you to recommend you? Because if I recommend you, you have the potential to make me look bad. So
Right.
again, it goes back to how you show up for things.
I think that's great advice. And as you touched on there, not only how great of a musician you are, but how great of a person and team player you are. Because it is about building a culture too, because you are
Mm-hmm.
touring with these people, you're with them every day. So I think that's great
Mm-hmm.
advice.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last question here submitted by our community is, when on stage and performing a solo like you're doing and absolutely crushing it, how do you deal with the pressure of having thousands watching you?
Um, Goes back to the self-talk stuff.
Okay.
So goes back to your training. Um, have you prepared for this? I'm a big believer in visualization,
Hmm.
and so when I'm practicing in a room, I'm envisioning myself on stage with the pressure, with the lights on, with the, oh man, sound check was like this because there's no one in the arena. Now, like all these people, the air is so thick. I have to deal with all these changes. Oh man,
Right.
I'm tired now. Oh man, this, all that, that. So, like I said, there's a great analogy I saw a speaker do on Instagram. It was like, the brain is wired to only focus on the positive. Because if I told you guys right now to think about it, don't think about a pink elephant. How many of you just envisioned a pink elephant? And then he
Guilty.
continues. He continues to talk about skiers on the slopes. As long as those skiers on the slopes focus on the path, then they're gonna find their way. But if they're focused on, oh man, I hope I don't hit that tree, you're focusing on the trees now. So you're most likely gonna hit a tree.
Yeah.
And the tension that you're getting from focusing on what you don't want is gonna rob you of the joy of doing what it is that you're supposed to be like. So I try to remember those kind of things. And for me, we're playing with in ears, which I happen to be wearing right now. These are molded to my ears,
Okay.
and they create like a great suction. But when you practice in trumpet in a room, you usually don't practice with these on, so it's not the most natural thing to be playing in an arena and have to get up and do. So what I do is I kind of take it out a little bit, so I can hear a little bit of that natural trumpet sound, and I can feel the vibration of the metal and the bones in my skull, and that usually helps me feel a little bit more secure.
Hmm.
And I time things like, okay, I'm gonna get up with enough time for the blood to rush up to where it needs to be from sitting down for so long. Oh, okay, I'm gonna make sure that I count and subdivide and really feel the music. Oh, okay, for this, I need to make sure that I'm hearing the drums a little bit louder so I can feel the time. It could be a bunch of things like that. Whatever makes you feel the most comfortable, you got to do that. And then, of course, you got to settle your nerves and remind yourself that you've worked for this, you're ready for this, and you're ready to share yourself with the audience. So if you're focused on that and focus on exactly what it is you're going to be playing in your mind, you should be fine. But if you focus on worrying about, oh, what if I mess up, or I hope they like me, or
Hmm.
or whatever it is, it could be whatever the
Sure.
negative
Sure.
things that can creep up into us. Like we gotta dispel that and replace it with positive stuff. So that's the answer.
Awesome. And that's why you're professional. You have that, you put in the time to do all that. And it sounds like you have a very I don't want to say calculated process, but you know what works for yourself, and you
Hmm.
stick to that.
Right.
I got to
And that's
ask this.
mhm.
Do you have any superstitions?
Superstitions, like things I have to do before I play, stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I have to warm up. I don't know if that's a superstition, but
Anything like I have to, drink a certain drink, or I have to get out of bed the same way.
no, no, not really. All the stuff I do is just routine. Like I
Right.
don't like. Yeah, you're traveling in all these cool cities, and you want to get out and explore them, but
Hmm.
at what cost? I don't want to tire myself out, and then at 8 o'clock feel pooped and not, and then making excuses for why I didn't perform at my best.
Right.
So sometimes I have to sacrifice not getting out and exploring a city because I need to sleep more, or I need to make time to practice, or hey, I didn't eat, or whatever it is.
Right.
So it's really about prioritizing. But I don't have any superstitions. I mean, like if I don't have my pinky ring on, I feel weird.
Okay, there we go.
If I don't have my yeah, if I don't have the certain things on me, I feel like my balance is off. Like I always practice with them on, so if I practice, then the weight is off. It's like
Right,
little
right.
little things like that. But I
Okay.
wouldn't say it's superstitious. Like I have to turn around in a circle 3 times before I
Right.
practice. Nothing like that.
No, it's just yeah, practice how you play, right? So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. And it goes to show the discipline you have as well.
Thank you.
Of course. And lastly, as I've been touching on a little bit throughout this, I love the content you're posting online. And I was talking about you posted one the other day. I think it was maybe in Montreal or Quebec City or somewhere there where you
Mhm.
posted a video of yourself, during the concert. And that just provided a perspective that's like super cool to myself, who will probably never be in that position. So for those that maybe haven't come across your content yet, where can they follow you and what would you like to say to them?
Oh, you can follow me on Instagram. That's my main method of posting. I'm not on TikTok yet. Social media is something that like I don't want it to take over my joy and love for what I do. So I'm not actively trying to grow my following inorganically. I just post when I want to and
Right.
share when I want to. And but you can find me at Jean Caze, like at Jean Caze, so JeanCaz as in zebra E. And my website is the same, www.jeancaz.com. And Facebook, if you type in Jean Caz, you'll see a guy with a trumpet. That'll be me. Um, and you can find all the other links that you may want
Yeah.
from my website. And yeah, I don't always do that because I'm supposed to be performing. I don't always post videos of me on stage because I'm supposed to be like,
Sure. Sure.
and you don't want the camera to be on Michael and you're in the back shot like, yeah, cool, this is so awesome. But I knew in that moment I could get away with it because I know what the cameras are showing and I know where he was sitting, etc.
Right.
But
Smart.
I just try
Smart.
to be as professional as possible. But yeah, it isn't eh, if somebody told me about it, it still wouldn't make any sense. Like being in that chair and getting, I happen to have the best seat in the house. I'm in the middle. I'm in the very top, of a bird's eye view, and all these people just put out their phones and are waving them from side to side, and looks like fireflies out there, and it's like 17,000 up to 20 something thousand sometimes.
Right.
And anytime that all these people are together in the same focus and the same energy and it's uplifting and positive, you feel it. You can't help it. And sometimes I get emotional, and sometimes I could tear up, and I'm not sure exactly why, but the emotion gets bubbled up, and it's really cool to be part of something positive that affects a bunch of people all at the same time.
Exactly. And it's even cool for myself to picture myself in that position. So again, I appreciate you doing that. And I'll have all those links to your socials in the description below. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Once again, I know your life is crazy busy right now, so I really appreciate you taking the time and answering my questions. And just before I conclude this podcast, is there anything else you would like to share?
Uh, yeah, whatever your dream is, whatever your goal is, it's possible. Be honest with yourself. Do the work that you know that you need to do to become the person that you want to be. There are no shortcuts. You get in what you put out, but yeah, you get back what you give. And like I said, music for me has been that thing that really showed me who I am and led me to all these opportunities and challenges that I had to overcome, and I'm still learning to overcome. And I'm happy. I'm in a really good place in my life because of all of the sacrifice that I did put in. And so hopefully, this talk and the information I gave inspires you to go out there and accomplish all of your goals.
Excellent invite, excellent advice. And that is going to conclude this episode. For those watching, keep working hard and let Jean be an inspiration to yourself to continue to work hard towards your music goals. Until next time, take care and keep making music.